Long time no speak. I actually wasn't gonna stream today, um, but you know, I realized that it would be good if I did. Okay. Um, so new angle because you can't see it, but I got a teleprompter, and that's using this tripod. So until I can get like another tripod, in all honesty, I need like a clamp, like a desk tripod that goes like way up. So I need to get that anyway. The other tripod was kind of just like a temporary fix that was working until I needed a teleprompter tripod. I'm just gonna go back to work. I was working before, so I'm gonna go back to work. I'm planning a special custom video for this guy, so I'm just gonna do that. But yeah, I'm just gonna get back to work. Okay, so I'm gonna record a video for this channel. I'm gonna actually move this over here. I have Cloud Code running in the background, so I'm gonna be babying this the entire time. Hold on. I actually have a problem that I might have to rectify before I start recording this. I think I'm out of credits. I'm not, but I am down. Okay, cool. It's working. All right. So, what I want to talk about specifically. Need to move my teleprompter. I'm gonna give you like a quick recursor as to exactly what it is that I want to talk about in this video. And then I'm going to kind of start the video after that and then just kind of talk. But I'm going to be talking about how most people define, and I've kind of touched on this before, but I think I could have done a better job at talking about it. So I would like to do a better job at talking about it, because I had one aspect of it, but I didn't have the other aspect of it. So I'm going to like kind of clarify that and do a better job. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna start the recording. I need to think of a hook first. Most people define success as all the things that went right, all the things that went according to plan, all the lotteries that were hit, you know, the bets that you made that paid off. And while success is that in a sense, it also is a case of hedged bets, because in each time, each attempt that you do something, you place a bet, a mini bet in something. And when something happens positively, and that ends up being a hedged bet, that ends up being a bet that has paid for all the other small bets tenfold. And I think a lot of people are scared of failure, and I've made, a video talking about this in the past, but I'm remaking this because it's relevant to my life right now. And it's also relevant in general to a lot of people. Like, a lot of people don't want to try new things because they're scared that they're going to fail at it. They're scared that, it's not going to go right. It's not going to go as expected. They're scared that they're going to be uncomfortable. They're scared of all these different things. And I think it's important to note that failure in success is the only thing that should be expected. And I want to specifically talk in this video about failure as a success metric and how that is the only thing that matters when you're chasing success. You actually should be chasing failure. Okay, I have my Cloud Code actually just finished, so I'm gonna um, let's see here. All right. Um, just had to yell at Cloud Code for a bit there, but let's get back to it. So I want to continue by just telling a quick story, and maybe you guys can relate with this quick little story. But I used to. I've been the kind of person who a lot of times like I have a desire and that my desires don't usually fade. So typically I have to go after it. I have to go after what I want. Um, and if I don't get it, then I'm still going to have that desire. Bro, I don't like how I worded that. I don't like it. I'm gonna restart this video. I don't like how I worded that. That was a little weird wording. That was a little weird wording. Okay, let's restart the video. Okay, cool. Um, a lot of people go their whole life trying to avoid failure but chase success. And I just came to the realization this week that in fact is actually doing it wrong. So I want to talk about what to do instead and how to envision success, like how you should think about success in order to better your chances at having it. So the first thing I want to note or talk about is the fact that when you are chasing something, success is essentially just you hedging your bets, right? You take multiple attempts at one thing. Sometimes that could take months, years, decades if you're really unlucky. It could take a long time. But in those attempts and those tries across that time period, I don't stammer. I don't know why I just said that, but in those times, right, those attempts across that time period of months, years, or decades, what you're doing is essentially betting, right? You are betting, and by continuing to do it, you are hedging your bet because eventually you have to believe that one of them is going to blow up, one of them is going to explode. And when it does explode, it pays for everything else, right? Hopefully, at least that's the hope. If you are chasing the right thing, then that is the idea behind it, right? If you're in the right vehicle, you don't want to spend like 10 years trying to, you know, like make a CD or something, I don't know, but you want to be in the right vehicle, and the idea is that one day the bet is going to take off and pay for everything else that you already did before. My cloud code just finished running. Okay. So that's the first thing, is just recognizing, like having the mindset that you are hedging your bets the more attempts that you take. The second thing, and if you see me like looking and like doing stuff on my computer, I have Cloud Code running in the background, so I just figured I'd make this video while doing Cloud Code. But the second thing, and more importantly, I wanted to make this video because it's been top of mind for me specifically, and I want to talk to you about my specific experience with this and the angle, because I've made a video about failure before, but I want to specifically talk about the angle and how it's different this time around. So I think it's fair to first start off with a tweet that I saw, which is that this person said that instead of chasing their dreams, instead of chasing success for a year, they instead told themselves that they're actually going to seek getting 100 rejections in a year. Yeah, in a year. And so this person, not in the same field as me, but I think they're like trying to be an actor or something, and they went and auditioned for roles and whatnot, and they wanted to get back 100 no's. That was their only goal, was 100 no's. They didn't care about the yeses or anything. They only cared about the no's, and so they went to a bunch of different auditions. Sorry for that sound. They went to a bunch of different auditions. They put themselves out there many, many, many times over. But in addition to getting the 100 no's, they also had essentially the best year of their life. Got multiple different gigs, multiple different roles. Had many different opportunities. Met very cool people. They just did a bunch of cool stuff. And so it got me thinking that, in addition to the fact that I noticed a pattern within myself, which is that once I get rejected in business, it's something that causes me to step back and kind of recoil a little bit and not put myself out there as much. And so, in noticing those two things were kind of the catalyst for the thought that I have now, which is that one, I want to start actually documenting my failures, like actually counting them. I'm actually going to create a Google Doc, and it's literally just going to be my failures. And the only goal there is to get up to 100. And so that kind of flips my fear on its head. And instead of me saying, like, instead of me trying to rationalize it and think this and that, because I know the reason why that I have it, and that's a long story that maybe eventually I can talk about. But I did an audio journaling session, funnily enough, and talked through it with myself. But I've just come to the realization that the reason why doesn't really matter, but I think it helps in helping me recognize the pattern, right? And helping me recognize that, okay, even though it's because of, this thing that happened when I was younger and I wanted this and, whatever, and this thing happened, and now it makes me want to run away as an adult to protect my kid's self, it's not entirely reasonable given what I want and what I am chasing. So, so yeah, that's like the main thing is that, one, I want to start keeping a log, and like I said, it kind of flips my fear on its head. And so instead of me being afraid of getting rejected, of someone telling me no, of someone telling me to fuck off, instead of being afraid of that, I'm actually wanting that. Like, I'm actually wanting to increase the number. That is a metric. I'm literally using failure as a success metric. And I do think that in the future, in the long run, that will help me the most, at least for this stage of life and business that I'm in. I think it is, when you're in a huge learning phase like I am, I'm not like I haven't made it by any by any sense of the word, by any means. I'm still very much in a learning phase, and so when you are in a huge learning phase, uh, the most important thing is volume and just taking consistent action. And I think that anything that helps me continue to take that action and not shy away and not be afraid of it is going to be amazing, right? So, what I will document in this is going to be 100 no's in terms of what I send, like when I send outreach, 100 no's in terms of sales calls, in terms of like anything. And the idea is that eventually somebody will say yes. At least one person. That's all I really need is just one yes. Even if I get 100 no's, I just need one yes. And even if I do get 100 no's, there's all like, depending on the person that it is, I can always go back and, you know, try again, right? Depending on the kind of no that it is specifically. And I think that's something else that I've had to overcome. I think that in the past, like, I've been pretty scared to send things out because I don't want to quote unquote waste leads. Like that was has been my mental blocker for whatever reason. And for whatever reason, I haven't allowed, like, I've just used that as an excuse. Like, I want to be perfect. I want to get things perfect because I don't want to waste leads. But I think, it's all a learning experience. You can't be perfect, and you can't like waste opportunity, because I think just putting it in a general sense, right? If you want to be an actor, for example, for the person in the tweet, um, if you don't want to quote unquote waste opportunities, like, then you can't get to where you want to be, because you need to learn. And in order to learn, like, the opportunities that you're quote unquote wasting are quite literally learning experiences. And that's literally like failure. Like, you're stacking failures on top of each other to learn. And so I'm going to bring back the point that I said in my old video, which is that failure, like the most successful people, what defines them, the reason for their success, and the common person's lack thereof, the difference between them is that the most successful people have failed more than the common person. And that is why they are successful, because they have failed more. So, therefore, in their failures, they're able to learn more. They know more than the common person in whatever domain or whatever, thing they're striving for, because they have failed more. And if you want to succeed, your first step is to learn the things to succeed and just do it, right? And so when you learn and you do it, you're going to realize that what you think you know, you don't actually know. There are things that you know, and things that you don't know that you don't know, and there are things that you know that you don't know. And so your goal is going to try to be to lessen the things that you don't know. But most of that stuff that you don't know, it's a lot. Most of that stuff is gonna come from the failures, stacking the failures on top of each other. And that's how you learn. Because the stuff that you already know that, so you can shift that to the side. But the stuff that uh, you you know that you don't know, you can go out and learn that information. And a lot of times, like, that is basically infinite. And a lot of times people go out and try to learn that, and they try to learn every single thing, and they eventually just, don't do anything, because they're always seeking information. So the main thing is, I don't want to get too deep in a rant here. I'm already 10 minutes in, but the main thing is literally just to use failure as a success metric, especially if you are the kind of person who is scared of it. um, I feel like I still struggle with it, to be honest, but I feel like I am getting past that hurdle, past that jump. And so I'm going to tell you exactly what I did that makes me feel currently like I'm moving forward and past my fear of failure. And so the first thing that I did, I don't know if this was helpful or not, but the first thing that I did was I specifically journaled my, like, why that is, and why I feel the need to kind of protect myself from failure. And so I talked through my entire, like, childhood, which I had a very happy childhood. But long story short, like, I moved around a lot, and so that kind of affected the way that I interacted with people and, like, the relationships that I made. So I documented all of that. I documented, like, in each of the unique situations, like, how it made me feel as a kid, and how, like, I'm not gonna get too much into it, but just journal, like, intricately, very nitty gritty. The deeper, the better. I did an audio journal just because that's just what I do. But if you can do, like, and I'm gonna make a video talking about it. If I haven't already, it's recorded, but it's not like uploaded yet. So I just need to hit the upload button. But that's the first step. The second step is, I think, like, it is well, actually, so I'm trying to think. Well, yeah. No, the first step that I actually did, which was before I even got the rejection in the first place, was did something super like this is gonna sound stupid, but I did something super embarrassing. So I literally went outside in my quiet neighborhood, and I went and yelled at the top of my lungs, and it was very uncomfortable. Like I wanted to recoil, but I had to because I was on the call and I'd said these things and I had to back it up. And he told me to do this, and so I had to do it, and I did it. And he asked me a question afterwards that kind of just changed the way that I think about and look at things now. That that before I just didn't, I wouldn't let myself do it. And that question is, did I die? Like, okay, I did this, but did I die? Am I still okay? Has anything changed materially in my life? Am I still able to go home at night and lay on my bed? Am I still able to go home and, have, my 2 or 3 square meals a day? Does it change the way that I live my life? And so, like, even though it made me super uncomfortable, that is now the series of questions that I basically take myself through when I'm doing something that makes me super uncomfortable. Instead of being like, okay, how do I go back to comfort? Like, how do I go back to my thing? I instead ask myself, okay, but like that made me uncomfortable, yes, but has it materially changed anything? Like, even though someone tells me to fuck off, what does it actually change? Uh, have I actually died? And typically the answer is no, and the answer is nothing, right? It doesn't change anything, it changes nothing. And, I'm still here. It didn't physically harm me. So I can keep pushing. And so that was the first thing. That was the first exercise that happened. So it allowed me to kind of guide myself through what was going on, specifically in that situation when I got rejected. And I know I said I didn't want to make it go on too much longer, but I think this part is important because this is like the more tactical steps. So it allowed me to kind of guide myself through that, and that wasn't as bad because typically after that happens, I typically just turn off the campaign, pause, everything's off. This time I didn't do that. This time I didn't, turn off my campaigns or, just stop because I know that this pain is necessary to get to where I want, because at this point in my journey, the pain of just not doing anything is just worse, because I know that I want this thing and I know that I need to go out and get it. And if I just stop, then that is me actively saying that I'm a pussy ass bitch. That's basically it. I don't know how else to, you know, to say it, but so I felt like I just had to continue, but it still was very uncomfortable. And it was still something that internally I had to kind of walk through. And, I did a long journaling session about it. And that's when I discovered all these things. So after I walked myself through that mental exercise after it happened, then I went out for a walk and I did an audio journal. And I essentially just talked about what was going on in what had happened in my life when I was younger, and you know understood why that is, that failure is such a huge thing for me. Like, why was I conditioned to just be so afraid of failure? And so it makes sense, I understand. And I think now even more, it's kind of like weird because, like, in a twisted sense, it's like now even more like I am chasing this to get rid of that fear for young Cody, for the little younger version of Cody that just wanted to be accepted, and I'm going to do the complete opposite. So yeah, that was the next step, was to like journal and basically figure out why. I don't know if this part was helpful or not, but it helped me to at least know why, and to be like, okay, like, yeah, this is why, and like I understand it now, but this isn't conducive to what I want to do, and to success. And so then eventually I said, you know what? Oh, eventually I came across a tweet, and then I said, now I'm going to start tracking my failures. So, yeah. We're going to do that, and that's it. That's the end of the video. Nothing to plug. Live on this channel Monday to Friday, typically 5 to 8 a.m. I have been slacking the last few days, but yeah. And I'm going to stop, I think, on day 180 or day something like that. So I have to figure out something special to do for day 100, because that's fast approaching. But anyway, I will see you in the next video. All right, cool. I'm actually going to stop the stream here at 7:47. I have a meeting at 8, so I'm going to stop here, and I will see you in the next video, or the next stream, or whatever. Bye bye.